Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, and we would have had chapel. So our chapel today is going to be on the crucifixion of Jesus. We're just going to start on the days that led up to it. And again, I'm reading from the Bedtime Bible Storybook. Jesus will return. Jesus told his disciples that when the time came for the end of the world, the Son of Man would come in his glory. I will sit upon his throne. All of the nations of the good world will gather there. I will divide good from evil. Those who believe in me will be on his right. Those who are bad will be on my left. The good and evil will be divided, like the shepherd divides the sheep from the goats. To those on the right I will say, you are blessed by our Father. I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothes. You visited me in prison. And one said, Lord, when did we do all of these for you? He answered, whenever you helped one needy person, you helped me. I will tell those on my left to go away. Go to the devil and his eternal fire. You never did any good things for me or any part of my family. When you refuse to help anyone, you refuse to help me. Jesus then told the disciples, the Passover will come in 2 days. Then I will be arrested and crucified. The Last Supper. The disciples asked, where should we make preparations to eat the Passover? Jesus told them to go into the city and find a certain man. They were to tell him that Jesus and the disciples would be celebrating the Passover at his house. When they found the man, he led them upstairs to a guest room. That evening, Jesus and the other 10 joined Peter and John. Jesus told them this would be his last supper with them. Sadness fell over the room. The table was set with the supper. Jesus took the bread and gave thanks. He broke it into pieces for each of the 12. Take, eat. This is my body. Do this in remembrance of me. Then he took a cup of wine and passed it to each one while saying, this is my blood shed for you, so your sins may be taken away. Drink this in remembrance of me. The disciples could not believe he would be taken away from them. As they ate, they wondered who would be the greatest in Jesus' kingdom. Jesus knew what they were thinking. He got up from the table and tied a towel around his waist. He filled a basin with water and began to wash their feet. The disciples were so surprised. Why was Jesus doing this? Peter said, Lord, you will never wash my feet. If I do not wash your feet, then you will not have a part in my kingdom, said Jesus. Peter quickly answered, then wash my feet, hands, and head. Jesus said, I have washed your feet, so you should go and wash the feet of others. This is an example for you. You should do to each other as I have done to you. The servant is not greater than the master. Jesus looked around and said, one of you will betray me. The disciples were shocked. Most asked, Lord, is it I? Jesus said, it is the one who receives this piece of bread. Jesus gave the bread to Judas. Immediately, Judas left the room. The disciples were confused. Jesus told the disciples they should not be afraid. I will rise again. Peter said, Lord, I will never leave you. But Jesus answered him, Peter, before the rooster crows again, you will deny me 3 times. The men sang a hymn together before they left the upper room and went to the Garden of Gethsemane. The Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus, Peter, James, and John went to the Mount of Olives to a garden called Gethsemane. Jesus told the disciples to sit while he went away to pray. He said, I am so overwhelmed with sorrow. Please stay here and keep watch with me. He went a little further, then fell on his face on the ground. He prayed, Father, I really do not want to do this. Yet, if this is what you want, then I will do as you ask. He returned to the disciples and found them asleep. Can you not keep watch for 1 hour? He went away a second time. This time he said, Father, may your will be done. He returned and found them asleep again. He went away and prayed a third time, saying the same thing. He turned to the disciples and said, "The hour is near. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of his sinners. Rise and let us go." Jesus is arrested. The chief priests and teachers of law were now trying to find a way to get rid of Jesus. They were afraid of the reaction that the people would have if Jesus was put to death. Judas, one of the 12 disciples, went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard. He discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. "What will you give me if I hand him over to you?" They were delighted. He came to them, so they agreed to give him money. They gave him 30 pieces of silver. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to betray Jesus. While Jesus was speaking, Judas came up with a large crowd. Many in the crowd sent by the chief priests and elders carried swords and clubs. Judas the betrayer had arranged for a signal. "Arrest the man I kiss." Judas walked up to Jesus, who said, "Friend, do what you came for." Several men stepped forward to arrest Jesus. One who was with Jesus reached out and struck the servant of a high priest, cutting off his ear. "Draw back your sword," Jesus said, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword." He then looked at Judas. "Why do you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Do you think I am a thief? Every day you see me in the temple. What the prophets have written is happening." All of the disciples ran from the garden. All right, tune in next week and we'll finish the story.